One of the tactics of torturers has been the softly approach, and then the hard approach. For example, a person in prison, they'll give them a cigarette to soften them. If the person won't confess, they'll start pulling the fingernails out. What's this all about? Okay, I'll take you back to the book of Daniel. Now, many of the Hebrew youths were taken from Jerusalem to Babylon in captivity, and 3 of those, along with Daniel, were Meshach, Shadrach and Abednego. And put before them was all the dainty dishes of Babylon, like the pig's heads, etc., which were anathema to the Jews. And Meshach, Shadrach and Abednego refused to partake of the dainty dishes of Babylon, and asked to be fed with vegetables for a period of time. And their countenance and appearance was more healthy than the other Hebrew youths that succumbed to the dainties and the dainty dishes of Babylon. Then Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, built a massive image and commanded that everyone bow down to it. But Meshach, Shadrach and Abednego would not bow down. They stood like this, resolute, brave young men. So they were thrown into the fiery furnace. But the angel of the Lord protected them. Not even a single hair of their head was singed. And Nebuchadnezzar said, Has your Lord protected you? Has your God protected you? And the accusers were thrown into the fiery furnace and incinerated. So the 2 attacks Satan used, the softly approach and the torture threat, failed. Now Christendom has also raised up an image of threat, like Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. Unless you believe in hellfire, you're going to burn in hell. And this is where the mark of the beast comes in. Revelation speaks about people who have a mark of the beast in their forehead and their right hand. People who advocate hellfire, 1, have got it embedded in their head, and 2, with their right hand, force it on other people. Get the point? Do we have the mark of the beast? If we promulgate and promote hellfire, we have the mark of the beast. God, Holy Father, wants worship from love, not through fear. Hebrews 2:14 and 15. Jesus Christ came to free all people who through all their lives were kept in fear of death. He came to break up the works of the devil. If we advocate hellfire, we have the mark of the beast. We're making God to be a beastly God. If you promote that, you are a follower of the devil. It's not an optional doctrine. Do you believe in hellfire or not? If you promote it, you are the devil's agent. And making people try to come to God in fear. No. Not at all. God recommends his own love to us, in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. 2 options: eternal bliss Well, death. The wages sin pays, Romans 6:23, is death. Nothing more. No wonder people have become atheists because of Christendom's crazy doctrines. The mark of the beast is in your hands and in your head if you promote hellfire. Ezekiel 9 talks about a proper mark in the forehead of those who were crying and sighing about the detestable things done in the name of God. True Christians get the mark because they have stood up against all those defaming God's name. You've got to be very, very careful if you advocate hellfire. Very careful. Why do you think 2 Peter 2 says that people would bring about destructive heresies? On account of these heresies, the way of the truth will be spoken of abusively. Just think about this, right? Let's look at that scripture, shall we? Just pause and think about this. No ancient Hebrew believed in hellfire. That is certain. Right, 2 Peter 2 verse 2. Right, got the wrong one here. Bear with me. Just meditate on these verses, right? 2 Peter 2. There were also false prophets among the people. That's Israel. Just as there will be false teachers among you. They will secretly introduce destructive heresies, the Greek aspuruia, even denying abolia, we get the word abolish from, or negant in the Latin Vulgate, denying the sovereign Lord who bought them, Jesus Christ, bringing swift destruction on themselves. Many will follow their shameful ways and will bring the way of truth into disrepute. In their greed, these teachers will exploit you with stories they have made up. Hellfire, for example. Their condemnation has long been hanging over them, and their destruction has not been sleeping. Okay? Think about it. What possible destructive heresies could have come into the truth? Hellfire, once saved, always saved, and the Trinity. To be a Christian, brothers, we've got to stand alone. We've got to stand up, suit up, boot up. Our God is a God of love. Never did it entertain his mind to torment people in hell. Jeremiah speaks about even the kings of Israel were sacrificing their children alive into fire to please the god Molech. And the sovereign Lord said, that never entertained my mind or heart. And you preach the God is a God of torments. No wonder Jesus said in Matthew 7, many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, Didn't we prophesy in your name and do this in your name? Expel demons in your name? The Lord was saying, never knew you. Never knew you. Get away from me, you workers of lawlessness. Yeah, but Lord, we told people about you being an eternal tormentor. Really? You character assassinated me and my Holy Father. Yeah, you quoted scriptures. You quoted scriptures. And you twisted them and put people in fear. You drew disciples after yourselves. Read the Gospels and see the true love of God. Don't follow these idiots who make God out to be a God of vengeance. Stand alone if you have to. Stand up for truth. These people are deceivers. 1 Timothy 4. In the last days, people will pay attention to misleading, inspired utterances of demons who work through men and through the hypocrisies of their lies, branded in their conscience as with a branding iron. Hellfire is a teaching of the devil. I put before you now, Moses said, life and death, the blessing and the malediction or curse, and you must choose life in order that you may stay alive, you and your offspring. Be very careful who you listen to. Doesn't matter how much scripture they can quote. The devil quoted scripture to Jesus in the temptation, didn't he? The devil knows every human language. Our God is a God of love. Two choices, life or nothing. Be blessed.